first this morning, the Senate will vote this upcoming week on a $40 billion package for Ukraine. Last week, the effort to pass the bill was blocked by Kentucky Senator Rand Paul, who argued that the spending was too severe, given the crises erupting across this country, including spiraling debt, which now tops $30 trillion.
My oath of office is to the U.S. Constitution, not to any foreign nation. And no matter how sympathetic the cause, my oath of office is to the national security of the United States of America. We cannot save Ukraine by dooming the U.S. economy.
And joining me right now to discuss this is, on the aid to Ukraine and other crises erupting across the country, is Tennessee Senator Bill Hagerty. He's a member of the Foreign Relations, Appropriations, and Banking Committees. Senator, it's good to see you this morning. Thanks very much for being here. So how will you vote on the $40 billion aid package to Ukraine this week?
I'll be a no on the package, Maria. It's as Senator Paul said, we've got crises erupting across the nation. In my home state, mothers can't get baby formula in Knoxville. You've got grandmothers and mothers that have sons and grandsons that won't come home because of fentanyl overdoses, because of the illegal drugs that are flowing across our southern border that President Biden will not protect. You've got crime running rampant across America. And people need to look at our nation and think, we've got to look at our own national security first. As Senator Paul has said, other nations are watching us too. China is seeing us not behave like a serious nation, rushing to put more aid into a country who, again, I certainly don't have anything against the Ukrainians. We want to see them win. But pumping more aid into that country when we're not taking care of our own country, the best thing that Biden could do is stop the war that he's waged on American industry. That would lower prices overall. That would take the funding away from Putin's war machine against Ukraine, and it would make our economy do better here. Biden will not do that. Yeah. Biden will not be serious, and it's taken us into a very bad direction. So he just wants to throw another $40 billion of American money into this when you've got other nations more proximate, the European nations, that have sort of stayed with us, but they haven't done this level of investment.
Yeah, I mean, we're looking at some of your colleagues in Ukraine, Mitch McConnell taking a congressional delegation there. Do you think that there's more who feel the way you do? I mean, Kentucky Senator Rand Paul stopped it last week. You're a no this week. Are there others, do you think, who will also vote no? Do you think it'll pass?
I know that there are other senators that are thinking very hard about this right now, as I have done. And I think it's going to be up to each one's conscience. We've already committed a great deal of money to this effort, Maria. And I know that people are concerned that money is being well spent, and we should certainly take effort to oversee that very carefully. At the same time, we have got to take care of things here at home first. That's our primary duty.
Well, this administration has been spending like a sailor. We know that, and that is part of the reason we've got 40-year highs of inflation. We've got the inflation timeline, because when President Biden walked into the White House, the CPI, the Consumer Price Index, was at 1.4%. That very index today is at 8.3% after another troubling report last week. Senator, what are you going to do as an elected official to get these numbers down? We know that by March of 2021, he signed in the $1.9 trillion COVID relief money, flooding the country with money. That had so many ramifications. By July of 2021, the Democrats were proposing a $5 trillion package, which they said was $3.9 trillion. But a lot of people said there were so many gimmicks in there, it was actually exceeding the value of $5 trillion. And then by November 2020, signed into it another spending package on infrastructure, $1 trillion there. Of course, by the time Russia invaded Ukraine, we already had an inflation rate of 7.9%. No surprise, we're at 8.3% today. Is this going to get worse?
And no one's taking responsibility. No one is taking responsibility for this in the Biden administration. In fact, he's waging war on Americans, calling us every name in the book, looking for scapegoats here in America with the previous president, or trying to blame this on Vladimir Putin. As you said, this is well underway before Putin, waged his war on the Ukraine. It wouldn't be happening if Joe Biden had not waged war on American energy in the first place. We've got to get our hands around this, and throwing more money at the problem is not the way to do it. It's just the stimulus package that he created back in March of 2021 was just like pouring gas onto the inflationary fire. And then the continued talk about $5 trillion, $6 trillion, $7 trillion packages just creates an expectation of inflation, which again is a self-fulfilling prophecy. Every step this administration has taken has been toward more inflation.
Well, what happens now? I mean, they are in sync in terms of name-calling on the Republicans, trying to make MAGA and ultra-MAGA a dirty word. Is this their new strategy here?
I think it's got to be the only strategy they have is deflection. They certainly aren't taking responsibility for what they've done, but the American public see right through this. Again, when you can't get baby formula right here in Tennessee, when you've got policies that are creating crime across America and a border that's completely unprotected, people see through this administration. And Biden has one failure after the other to point to. The failure of Afghanistan has precipitated, global concern about America's posture. Our adversaries obviously emboldened. That stepped up Putin's activity in Ukraine. China stepped up its activity in the South China Sea and the East China Sea. North Korea is back at it again. The world is a more dangerous place thanks to Joe Biden. And what does he do? Blame Americans.
And that's one reason that you took a trip to Japan. I want you to tell me about your congressional delegation to Japan, where you met with many officials. What was the point of that trip, and what does the China policy look like in the Senate? Because all I've seen is this administration roll over for China. They canceled the China initiative. There's word they're going to remove the tariffs on China. What did you hear while you were on the ground in Japan?
A great deal of concern about America's strength and posture toward China. That's why I led a congressional delegation with two senior senators, Senator Cornyn from Texas, Senator Cardin from Maryland, a bipartisan delegation to basically demonstrate to that part of the world that China still is our #1 concern. They're our longest midterm, long-term strategic adversary. They're the most critical adversary that we've got right now. We're not going to let what's happening in Ukraine take our eye off that ball. What we need to see is a strong America right now. That's what the world needs to see. Certainly that region needs to see it. And we were there to show that we're standing shoulder to shoulder with Japan, who is our strongest ally there. It's important to convey that message to China. It's also important to convey that message to North Korea. Standing together, we'll do far better. We also were looking for economic opportunities to work together. More semiconductor manufacturing opportunities to work with Japan, with South Korea, to manufacture semiconductors right here in America. That's absolutely critical. We also have to stand strong together, though, against China. And the thought of taking away the tariffs, like getting nothing for it, that's just ridiculous.
Well, I mean, is that happening, though? What is the China policy? Is this going to be something you're working on before the Memorial Day recess? Look, let's face it. Huawei has been a threat. You were able to push through legislation to block Huawei here and in Japan, right? And why does Joe Biden keep rolling over for China?
China is a threat at every turn, whether it's militarily, diplomatically, or economically. If you look at the technology, we've got a great opportunity right now because we were able to block Huawei from the U.S. and Japan, the first and the third largest markets in the world. We need to take that opportunity. We need to work together to seize it. There was a lot of pressure put on China with the tariffs that were put in place in the last administration, very painful putting those tariffs in place. And the Biden administration is talking about taking them away as if that's going to have some sort of impact on inflation right here in America. The biggest impact that Biden could have on American inflation is to stop his war on American energy, get us back in the energy business. Not only would it help us here in America, but it would help around the world.
Well, meanwhile, the Democrats are talking about abortion. I mean, Senator Schumer seems to be fine with protesters right outside the private homes of Supreme Court justices. Here's the senator this week. I got to get your take on this now.
Sure.
If protests are peaceful, yes. My house there's protests 3-4 times a week outside my house. That's the American way to peacefully protest is okay. And that's my wife, sorry. Maybe there's a protest outside.
So he's okay with it, Senator. It doesn't matter as long as they just are peaceful, he says. People outside private homes of justices.
Look, the focus of this is clear. It's intimidation, Maria. They leaked this draft opinion to hopefully, I think their view is that would allow people to get out and intimidate and change the opinion of these justices that are in the process of deliberation. There is U.S. code against this. They're standing by and watching the law be violated by these protesters. This intimidation, I pray, doesn't get any worse. But it is very, very disheartening. It's against the law. And again, it's part of the Democrat strategy, I think, to deflect from the real issues that Americans are worried about, the real issues that have most of the country understanding that we're going in the wrong direction. And this is yet another deflection by the Democrats to try to get the American public to look the other way.
Well, Senator, we'll be watching that, and we'll keep the focus on what matters to the American people for sure. Thanks very much for being here this morning.
Thanks, Maria.
Senator Bill Hagerty joining us this morning.